You're so funny. I can't see my screen anymore. Okay, hello everyone. I am Crystal Frazier, the assistant professor in the dance department, and I want to welcome the department students and viewers for turning in and from around the world and the country. Thank you. Please join me in welcoming Maud Arnold and Rennie Harris to the Point Park Dance Department Dance Speaker Series. We will begin by asking our guests to briefly introduce themselves and tell us about their individual career journeys. Following this, we invite views to ask questions at any time in the Q&A or chat area. So who would like to express their background? Maud, do you want to go first?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Maud Arnold. I'm super excited to be here. It's an honor to be on a panel with you, Rennie. I am really, really close friends with Nina Flagg.
Oh, nice.
So Nina was one of my first hip hop, real hip hop teachers when I was like 14
at wow.
Dance Academy. And then Nina and I ended up teaching together, and she's basically like a sister to me. So I feel like I know you because she was dancing with you at the time of like when we first became friends.
Oh, wow.
And Crystal, I haven't seen you in years. It's been eons. And so it's an honor for me to be here. My name is Maud. I'm a professional tap dancer and choreographer. I am from Washington, D.C. I currently live between Los Angeles and New York. I haven't been to New York since the pandemic, but I plan on going back soon to make sure it's still there. And I love tap dancing. My sister started a company called the Syncopated Ladies in 2003. And we are an all-female tap dancing band, and we perform and tour around the world. And I also work in film and television. And outside of dance, I have a nonprofit foundation with my sister. So we have after-school programs for dance here in South Central LA and in 2 favelas in Rio in Brazil. And we have a dance clothing line, and I have newly become a tech investor. So I have my hands in lots of things, but I love dance, I love teaching, I love performing, I love choreographing, and I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you.
Hey, how's it going? I am Rennie Harris, Artistic Director of Rennie Harris Pure Movement. We're a street dance theater company that I founded in 91, 92. Crystal is an alumni, of course, who danced in the company. And I know your sister, because we performed together 100 years ago. I think it was a show called Jazz Tap Hip Hop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it was around 1998-ish.
Wow. That makes sense. That makes sense time-wise too.
Yeah, and I haven't seen her since. So yeah.
She looks exactly the same.
You know, I've seen her on Instagram. I'm like, oh wow, she does look exactly the same. I need to drink her coffee, right? Okay, so we're a hip hop street dance theater company, probably the longest running street dance theater company in American history, so to speak. I think we're just starting to think about that. And what I mean by that, we're not talking about a crew or dance group, but a company is consistently, creating work for theater, but also pushing the vocabulary itself, and presenting it in a different range of expression for theater. So that's pretty much what I do. I come from the commercial world. I toured on the first rap tour ever to cross the country. I'm telling my age. I think I was 19 years old. It was the Fresh Festival with Run DMC, Fat Boys, Curtis Blow, LL Cool J came on later. Jermaine Dupri, the producer, was about 10 years old at the time. He used to open up the tour. So I come from that old back in the day, before, because no one knew hip hop was going to blow up the way that it did. And so this was like the first American tour. And however, there was another tour before mine in 81, I think 82, which was the Rocksteady crew. They came out of the kitchen in New York, and they toured with Fab Five Freddy and some graffiti artists as well overseas. And so this one was specifically for the US. So of course, after that, I did mostly commercial work. And then in 91, I went back to Philadelphia. Well, a little bit early, went back to Philly, formed this company in the theater.
Well, thank you for sharing. Mm-hmm. So my next question is, before I go into dive deeper into your background, what inspired you to further your interest in hip hop and in tap? For either of you. Go ahead, Maud. You go first.
Oh, okay. Well, tap dance for me. Well, I was, like a lot of us, I'm sure people listening, you go to like a strip mall dance class, and you do tap, ballet, jazz. I was terrible. Like, I was trash. I was the kid at 5 who, they like run over the hat. I would walk and look at the hat, be chewing gum and walk around the thing. Like, I was like, this is not for me. I want to play outside. This is not for me. But I think it was who was my teacher. And I had this amazing teacher named Miss Tony Lambre, rest in peace, in DC. And what she created was a home for women, well, girls, young girls, particularly black girls, to not only learn how to be danced, but also be nurtured. And like the women that I danced with back then, which is like almost 30 years ago, are still my friends today, even if they're not professional tap dancers. I mean, we learned beyond dance skills, we learned about giving back, we learned about the history of it. And I also think that tap dance is so fun because you don't have to look a certain way. You don't like my body doesn't lend to a ballet dancer. And also I was a very loud child. I'm still kind of a loud adult, and tap dance allows you to be loud, and it's improvisational. And I love that freedom within the art form. And I think that's what kept me going. And then my sister doing it too. I never had imagined like a plan B. I just always knew this was it. And I did go to college. I went to Columbia University, and I studied film, which hence all the videos of Syncopated Ladies, because I studied film. But there was never like if tap dance doesn't work out, which is ironic because there was no career for women tap dancers except Rockettes, which I'm too big for, and maybe background something Mary Poppins on Broadway, which again, I'm probably a little too thick for too. So I love the freedom and the open lane that it provided, because we could create what we wanted to do within the art.
Great. Rennie?
Yeah, I wasn't inspired at all, to be honest with you. I didn't. The only reason, honestly, that I got into hip hop, let me just clear something up. When I was dancing full out, like, as a street dancer, it wasn't called hip hop. That didn't happen to like 81. And so yeah, I didn't. So you have to think about it from almost similar to Maud. There was no such thing as a professional street dancer, other than maybe the Campbell Lockers, but that was specifically West Coast kind of thing, right? And so I just, whoever paid me, that I danced for them, and that it was all economics. And I really didn't think of myself as a choreographer until I turned 36.
Wow.
36. We were at, I think, Spoleto Festival. Crystal, you might have been there. But Spoleto Festival in South Carolina, and the headlines read, Rennie Harris, choreographer Rennie Harris brings angst dance to Spoleto Festival. And I wasn't even tripping about the angst part, because I could like give to, whatever, because I'm like, hip hop, y'all can't take it, don't worry about it. When I say that, meaning like, because hip hop was very political, very, from the music, I did the same thing with the dance, to make the dance actually say something like rappers were saying something, create a narrative around racism, create a narrative around molestation and rape and all those things. And it was a little too strong for them. And so they said I brought angst dance to South Carolina. However, I didn't trip on that. I tripped on the fact that they called me a choreographer, because I didn't think of myself as a choreographer. My generation of street dancers, basically, you did everything. So you danced and you choreographed. Everybody in hip hop can choreograph back then. It wasn't a skill set. Like, I mean, it was, but not like, oh, I'm a choreographer. It was all in one. Just like if you have an African dance, a drummer who's playing, that drummer can sing and dance generally, right? So we were very much kind of like that. And when I found out you can get paid for choreographing, I'm like, what? All this money I lost? I choreographed for the Fat Boys. I was doing stuff, because they were like, yo, my nickname back then was Prince. So it was like, yo, Prince, show us some steps real quick so we can put it in the show. All right, cool. Boom, 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 boom. Like I was like always doing that. So anyway, I don't really feel like I was inspired by hip hop, because it wasn't called hip hop. It was a culture at the time. We were just doing it. And then eventually, it was even controversy when it became hip hop amongst us. There was major controversy amongst the street dancers and people of the culture who said, well, who called it hip hop? And everybody was upset about that, from what I know, the people from my experience. Yeah.
The question is, since it wasn't called, go ahead, what'd you say?
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Since it wasn't called hip hop then, what was it called and how did it differ?
Well, we just called ourselves street dancers, right? And there wasn't a name. It just literally was not a name. You mean in the 70s, people was rhyming over funk music, and there was no music. There was no hip hop music. The dances the culture was being developed in the 70s. So by the 80s, the culture had developed. And then when it was quote unquote discovered, then it was like, oh, look at this thing. And then what happened was in 79, when Rapper's Delight came out, and their first thing that comes out of their mouth, it says, to the hip, to the hop, you don't stop rocking, right? That goes massive for the next 2 years, right, on the radio. It's the first rap song on the radio. So you had that, and then you had the breakers, right? The breakers, according to, and I'm quoting B-Girl Asia One, breaking is the cultural dance of hip hop. So you had this other dance coming out of this same situation, along with the music, all at the same time. So and then you had African Bambaataa, he was being interviewed, and he said, they asked him, well, what are you doing? He said, we're not doing anything, we're just hip hopping around. So on August 12th or 11th in 1981, the Village Voice newspaper read, hip hop, the folklore of the South Bronx. So with that, the popularity of breaking, because people were like, this is incredible. Remember, the breakers used to be on That's Incredible. Like, they couldn't believe these dancers were doing what they were doing. And then you had the music. They started calling it hip hop. And when Bambaataa asked, someone asked at a Zulu, this is according to Popmaster, Mr. Wiggles, Stephen Clemente. He told me that they were at a Zulu Nation meeting, and that they wanted to know who called it hip hop and why don't we call it rocking, right? like we never heard of hip hop. And then apparently, according to him, Bambaataa stood up and said, I called it hip hop. And then everybody said, okay, and sat down.
The man has spoken.
Yes. Well, he was an ex warlord of one of the biggest gangs in New York. Nobody's going to contest that, right?
No, not at all. As he sips tea. So Maud, being a female tap dancer, artist, performer, choreographer, how has this process been for you, coming from young age training in tap and moving the way you and your sister have in the industry? Have you found challenges as a female tapper in the industry?
I definitely, that's a great question. I definitely have, we've faced obstacles, of course. I think that with anything, when you are a marginalized group, so I'm marginalized times 2, actually 3, because I also grew up low income. So that's female, Black, and poor. The odds are against you, particularly, well, in the world actually. And and in tap dance, traditionally, it's always been a man star. Like if you ask anybody, you're like, name a famous female tap dancer. They're like, I don't know, maybe Shirley Temple, if that, like right. Maybe they know that, they don't know. They cannot name a Black woman. And there have been incredible Black women who tap dancers, choreographers in the past, but they just never got to tell their own story, and they never had control of the narrative. And so I would say when we, our first video that we did, and I say this because I know that a lot of people watching are in college right now, and this happened probably right when I had gotten out of college. We did a first video, and we were inspired because they were thinking about bringing back In Living Color. And if you know what that is, good for you. If you don't know what that is, Google it. It was amazing. Like, forget SNL, In Living Color. And we were like, what if we were like the Fly Girls, but who tap dance? And so we did this video, and people who were not tap dancers and other types of dance and just regular people loved it. And we got so much backlash from the tap community saying, this is not pure. This is disrespectful to the art form. You guys, what are you wearing? And of course, this all came from men. And then from women who defer to men. And we, at that moment, this was like 2013, we decided we had like a little group meeting, a powwow, and we were like, look, me and Chloe, we gonna move forward, because let me tell you, if we made it out of DC to an Ivy League university and have figured it out this far, we're not gonna let anybody stop us, because these are haters. And we would ask other ladies, like, look, are y'all willing to possibly be berated? Because I mean, they were sharing our video on Facebook, talking really bad about us, things that didn't even have to do with dance, just making things up. And everybody in the group was like, let's go for it. Forget it. Let's rock out. And then we worked with Beyonce on production. Because again, I had this film degree. So I also worked on production on music videos for a long time. And I actually worked with Jermaine Dupri, LOL, as an adult. We saw how she rocked, like how she was able to rock out and run things. And we were like, why can't we do this in tap dance? And that really was like the catalyst to be like, this is what we're going to do. And we're going to full steam ahead. And even now, to this day, many years later and many, success later, we still get bullied by men in our community. And I say that to say to anybody listening, when you stir things up or you're actually making a change, people will try to stop you. But if what you're doing isn't that important or not significant, people don't care. Because we had been doing Syncopated Ladies, and we would like perform at a little tap festival once a year. But as soon as we did a video and then Beyonce shared it, and then we started getting all this work, then a lot of people who usually run things were not feeling very comfortable about it and tried to discourage us and bully us very aggressively. Now, again, I'm from DC in the 80s. You can't really bully my sister and I. But you have to be fearless, particularly as a woman, as a person of color, as an artist, and know that, like, no, this is my dream, this is my goal, and I am willing to fight for that for myself.
That is definitely a journey. It's definitely a journey.
It's been great. It's been great.
Definitely a journey. So Rennie, on that note, I'm gonna switch gears. I won't. On that note, can you talk about how you came about with RHPM, Rennie Harris Peer Movement?
Okay. Well, I left, as I said earlier, I left New York around 87, 88, because I moved to New York right after high school. And I left New York, came back, worked in television for a minute, was doing odd things, some odd choreography stuff, working with different groups like Boys to Men, like people like, people, groups like that, like out of Philly. Like in Philly, it's very close. Like, so, Jill Scott lived up the street from me. You know what I mean? Like, last time I saw her before she blew up was on Ridge Avenue, walking down the street, and I'm like, "Yo, what's up?" We talking and chopping it up, and then I don't see her forever, right? And so Philly, if you in anything in Philadelphia, you pretty much know everybody. So in any case, I was just kind of doing this, doing that, and then somebody called me up and asked me if I wanted to choreograph. They said, "Well, I'm gonna commission you $1,500 to choreograph 45 minutes of work in the theater." Now, mind you, at this time, I didn't know what the word commission meant. I thought, because I had apprenticed as a child for bricklaying, I thought they wanted me to do, you know how you put something in your own head and the person is saying something completely different, but you put it in your head and you right. So this is why I'm thinking that the cat is asking me to put up a wall, like to because I should do braces for walls and lots and stuff like that with this older guy who taught me how to do it. So I, that's how I would make a little bit of change here and there. And he was like, no. And then I thought it was one of my friends pretending to be white, because their diction was really clear and clean. I was like, stop it. I'm cursing this guy out. F this and da-da-da, mother this, blah, 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 blah. And this is like 15 minutes of this, because I just don't believe this cat. So eventually I go, oh, you're serious? And so he says, yes, Rennie, this is so-and-so theater and we're calling you, blah, blah, blah. Now he's getting upset. So I said, oh, okay. So he said, yeah, I'm gonna give you half of the money today, would come by today or whatever, and the other half next year. This was in 91. And I said, I had never been, two things. I have never choreographed at this time. I had never choreographed past 10 minutes because we only did 10-minute sets. You know what I mean? We go out, do 10-minute set, collect our little 5 Gs or whatever we were getting and break it down evenly. That's how we rolled, right? Or I would choreograph for somebody, it'd be like 3 minutes for some song or some R&B artist was, stuff like that. So I'm like, in my head, I'm like, 45 minutes? Oh my God, what am I gonna do? So that was the first thing. And then the second thing was, he wanted to pay me part of the money ahead. I had never been paid in advance. Generally at that time, we had to fight the promoter and the people who hired. I mean, when I say fight, like physically have to rumble to get our money. You know what I mean? So when he said, I was like, and I live in a rough neighborhood. So I was like, well, I don't know if I might not even be there. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, they just had a shootout in front of my house. So it's possible I might not even be here. This is a night like in the 90s where they were talking about the Black man as an endangered species. Because we were dying, I mean, as we still are, like really, really dying at an alarming rate. Like we didn't make it to 25, most of us, right? And so I'm like, I might not be here. You know what I mean? I got 5 brothers and they all get down. I'm the only dancer. So, you know what I mean? Like anything can go down between now and next year. And he said, okay, that's fair. He said, but I'm gonna give you the money anyway, and I'll see you next year. Yeah, and that's how. So the following year, I started recruiting people, did the show, and did that show that next year. And the next week, that same night that we performed, we got hired for 2 weeks somewhere else. And now I'm here with you. Ever since then, I've been hired. That's my job. I think I had a job, actual literal job, 9 to 5 at one time. in my life.
You're blessed.
I got the chills, Rennie.
Oh, wow.
I did, because, and it's not like it's a foreign idea to me, because DC was
Yeah.
murder capital of the world at the time. But
Mhm.
it's just so beautiful to hear it and to just see it. And I just had to say, sorry.
Yeah, well,
Sorry.
because you know, like I used to roll out in DC. I ain't mess around in DC either. You know what I mean? They were like, "Yo," I'd be like, "I'm from Philly. I'm neutral." They used to have these signs that you hit, like, "Yo, I'm neutral," and I would throw up my sign, and which meant I was neutral. And I used to roll through DC a lot. And then eventually, it just got too hot because there was younger generation coming in. They didn't know me. I was like, I'm gonna go this way. I'm like, I don't mess around with DC. You know what I mean? Like, it's like Philly. Like, you come to Philly, same thing, Jersey, Camden, all of that. So, like, when you come out of that situation, like, it's just it's an amazing thing. But once I think that's what the dance does. You know, I used to, Crystal, remember, I used to say this all the time. Like, I had one foot on the stage and the other foot in the street. You know what I mean? Like, the dance pulls that other foot over and plants you like strong into your position, and you either going to do it or you're not going to do it. However, you will always remain the dancer. You know what I mean?
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Unity, I love it. Next, I want to ask you too about your creative process. What is that like? How do you go about it? What happens when you hit a wall? So on and so forth.
My creative process is not anything structural. I I'm a very social being. Like, pre-pandemic and being quarantined, like, my friends call me the social chair. And I don't drink alcohol, I don't do any drugs, but people are my like fix. Like, I love being around people. And so for me, I don't create well in isolation. And I find a lot of inspiration. Literally, this sounds so cliche, but inspiration is all around you. But it is true. Even just having, I also talk to people all the time. Even through the mask at the grocery store, I talk to everybody, because I find that somebody can tell you a story or give you an affectation or make you feel something that can inspire something. And then music. Like, right now, I'm back really like hard, which is so weird, in Sade. Now, I don't know why. And at the beginning of pandemic, it was Bob Marley, where I'm like back, and it's not like this new music to me. It's just like, this is kind of like my mood and my flow. But and I've been watching a lot of old shows, and because everything's back on Netflix, TV, movies, and like I was watching Boomerang the other day, and I like to watch other artists and just be inspired. And I'm most inspired when I see other people being authentically themselves, because it inspires me to, it reminds me that I can do whatever I want to do and however I feel. So like, if I feel sad, I'll create something like sad, and it actually makes me feel better. So I always believe in like, dance how you feel, create how you feel.
Interesting. Nice. Rennie?
Well, yeah, I'm the complete opposite. I like to be by myself. I don't generally like people. I don't talk to people.
We'll be great friends.
Yes. Well, you know, well, here's the thing. When you get to know me, it's like a whole nother thing. It's just that initial thing. You have to push a button, I start talking. Like, right now, I'm on right now. Boom, boom, boom. Which is one of the biggest complaints, you know, with when I had girlfriends over the years, where it's like, you don't talk, you don't say anything. And I'm like, I don't really have anything to say. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what you want to talk about, you know? And so I'm not a chatty person. And I think that's because as a kid, I lived by, you know, I was I have seven of us, but as the oldest, I was by myself for a long time. And so for whatever reason, I could play, you know, I entertain myself very well. You know what I mean? And so, you know, you may walk in and find me talking to myself and cracking up, because that's what I do. You know what I mean? It's hilarious for me. However, when I'm creating, I often just want to walk in and start creating. I have no idea. other than I know I need to create work.
Mm.
And I start off physically just with choreography only. After the choreography, I start doing blocking and staging of that choreography. After that, I start looking at the people who are doing it and create the narrative based on their particular personalities, and I create a story from it. And so I layer, and then after that, then production. I don't think about production or anything like that. However, when I set this piece on, the last piece I set on Ailey, I was basically disabled. Some of you may know, I just had two hip replacements. So when they called me, I was literally, what most people don't know, I was in a wheelchair. And I was, like I was in public walking around, but I was just I could only take 5 steps before I had to sit because my hips was just so bad. And I was waiting and holding out. I went through pain for 5 years on purpose because it was the job, and I couldn't lose this money. And I was like, no, I got to make it through. You know what I mean? And that was real, And so anyway, what Robert called me, Robert Battle, the artistic director, he called me a year before it was for me to go and rehearse and to tell me that he wanted me to choreograph this work. I wrote everything out for 1 year. I wrote every idea I had with music in its own section. Every idea, like if I heard a sample, a little piece of a music, like I love music the same way, and I'll just listen to anything. It's good country music, it could be classical music. I'm hearing something that, and so I'm like hearing little bits of music, and I'm taping that little bit of music to give it to my buddy because he can make a whole song out of that little bit of music that I heard. So I'm doing that. I'm doing lighting, ideas for lighting. Everything gets its own separate category. Choreography, choreographic, what I call crowd pleasers, visual like people go, oh, wow. So those kind of ideas, crowd pleasers, that's what we used to call them as kids. Like, let's do 3 crowd pleasers, because they're going to clap on that, right? So I had that. I had a category. I had 20, 30 pages of notes.
Wow.
So by the time I got to Ailey, I had almost 40. And I just went through that shit. This like rolling that stuff. What I didn't use, I put on another page. I start rolling it over so I could have it for other works. And so now this is like my new, and now of course I'm assuming other choreographers been doing this shit for years. I never wrote anything down. I never thought about anything. I never analyzed it. I never researched. I just straight hip hopped it. You know what I mean? Like this is what we're gonna do. Boom, let's go. And now I'm like, it's like I just can't finish college. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, I write everything. I'm like, this is amazing. So during the pandemic, to close this up, during the pandemic, I made 2 different works, 2 more. I wrote Losing My Religion is a new work that I'm doing. And then I'm doing another work called American Street Dancer. And so those 2 are the new works that came out with the pandemic. I read 10 fucking books. Excuse me for cursing. I majored in French. So I read 10 books. I've been taking yoga, Pilates. I dance every morning because now I got 2 brand new hips. So I'm inspired with yeah, man. These hips are 20 years old.
That's amazing.
I'm inspired, like same thing like you, Ma. Like life is killing it right now for me. I'm loving the pain. I have blessings. I pray for people who've been affected by the pandemic, but man, this reshaped me. I started going back to painting. I do collages. I went back to just writing and all that kind of stuff. And so I wrote a children's book for my daughter and her sister. You know what I mean? I'm like, yo, this is the best. Because when you don't have any work, what you gonna do?
This is
you
true.
Don't come out, here's my last thing. If you do not come out of this pandemic with another skill set, you've wasted some time.
I agree. Hey, Rennie, look who came to say hi to you.
Uh-oh. We have a visitor.
Hello.
Oh, snap. What's up, Mama? How you doing?
I just got finished with the workout. I'm great.
Nice.
fit and healthy during this pandemic.
Yes, ma'am. I was just telling her, I said, the last time I actually talked to you probably or saw you was when we did the show. Was it Jazz Tap Hip Hop?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
100,000 years ago.
I know.
I'm loving the work that you guys are doing though.
Thank you. And I hope that we get to reconnect.
Yes.
Later.
Yeah.
Yep. Reunion.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I think I follow you. Do I follow you?
I'm pretty sure I follow you.
I'm like, oh, okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Killing it still.
Thank you. Well, congrats on everything.
Yeah.
And
you
won
too.
an award. Didn't you just win an
You
award?
won some
Yes,
massive.
Your grant.
Oh, yeah, the Doris Duke Artist Award.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The dark. Excuse that. Yes, it was all over my timeline.
Here's my tea.
Yes.
Put that pinky up. Put the pinky up.
Congrats. I'm so
Thank
happy
you,
for you.
Mama.
When I
Yeah.
saw it, I was
Thank
like, yes. Winning.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah. So
Nice to see you guys. I'm not gonna bother.
Oh, no.
Chloe and I are next door neighbors, and she came to drop something
As
off, and
it
then I
should
did
be.
like this to her. Just say hi.
Yes.
Nice. I'm appreciative. I'm glad I got to see you and talk to you.
You look so great and healthy.
You too, Mama.
Yes.
All right, have a good one.
Bye, Crystal.
That was great surprise. Look at everybody. We got a surprise out of this. All right, we have some questions from our viewers. One is, this is for Maud. When in production, how do you come up with ideas? Because I am in the Broadway Collective and we're doing a level up challenge where we have to create our own solo show for 15 minutes. And I'm excited, but I'm stuck and really nervous because I don't know where to start. What advice do you have?
Wow, that's a great question. First of all, I love that you're given this task. That's a hefty task, a 15-minute solo show. I would say the best thing to do is start with yourself. What is your story? Your story is different than anybody else's. And start with yourself. Like, what makes you unique? What makes you special? And tell your story through this. It could be like a one-woman show. There's a great, I have to think, maybe by the end, I'll remember some good references for you to look at and watch some documentaries on people. Like Quincy Jones has such a great documentary. Sam Cooke has a great documentary, and watch some biographical films like Malcolm X, and you can kind of see how people tell their stories. That's my advice. Rennie, I don't know. Rennie, do you have anything to say?
I love it all. The next question is for both of you. What tips do you have on creating a brand for yourself? Whoever wants to go first.
That's kind of hard because I feel like I don't really have a brand, but you know what I mean? Like I do, but I don't really see when you're in it. Sometimes you don't see because I didn't purposely like set out to create a brand. You know what I mean? However, I know I'm starting to realize there's a certain types of movement. Like people who've danced with me or dancers who've taken class with me over the years, maybe 10, 15 years, they begin to move a certain way. And you can see like, oh, you must have trained with Rennie. And so I see, so I would say it's about being consistent about whatever your thing is, because your thing initially you may see something else and you may sort of like be inspired by that. And then you not copy it, but you use that as your platform, right? But over time, you actually begin to create your own narrative and style over time. So once you figure out what that style is or what that thing is, then it's about putting it out, right? So for instance, when I got this commission in 1992, 91, I said to the dancers that I had, I said, listen, we got 3 years to make it. I was already tired. I had traveled the world already. I thought I was retiring at 20. You know what I mean? You do so much, you're like, I can't get on another plane. I can't get on another plane. I cannot have another piece of fruit in my room. I just can't have, I'm done, right?
Done with the Cheesecake Factory.
Right,
exactly. With the local Cheesecake Factory, yes.
Right, exactly. So I told the dancers, I said, we have 3 years to make it. If we don't make it in those 3 years, I'm quitting. And so what I learned in those 3 years, I started to call those 3 years the yes years. And what that means is I say yes to everything. If you have $5, I'm dancing for it. Whatever it is I'm doing, I'm not asking how much money it is. I'm just going to do it. Because what I realized from doing commercial work, it was about getting my name, i.e. brand, out there. In this first year, no one knows you. You're just getting you in your Fred Flintstone car, trying to get it started like that. You know what I mean? And in the second year, you should start hearing a little buzz about yourself. The third year, you should be on your way. Now, this doesn't mean specifically, this is not about content. Like, it's not because you're getting a lot of work. It could just be a buzz in the third year. It could be administratively you're moving forward. It could be on a whole other level that you're moving forward. You just have to be able to recognize it. So in that third year, you check in with yourself, your people, the people around you, and make sure you're still on track. This is the beginning of branding getting your brand out there. You want people to know who you are. So you have to start off like it's free. And anybody who gets down, here's the best piece of advice, I think. If you're starting a company, don't pay nobody. In the beginning, save that money and create yourself a reserve account. Let them know that they will not get paid. Tell them they will be there for 3 years with you. And then when they do get paid, you scale pay them. Oh, here's a stipend say thank you for all the 3 years that you stayed with me. And then you keep it scale paying. And this way you create tiers in your company. So, because if you're paying everybody the most that you could pay them, you're losing money. You have to be smart and think about your company as a person. It's its own entity. It has to get paid too. You just can't break down. Like with hip hop, we break down evenly. I had to stop doing that because we weren't getting anywhere. Anyway, I got off rail. Sorry, I digress.
Go ahead, Ma. Do you have anything?
I would say everything Rennie said, and oh my gosh, I would say mostly, I think the most important thing is consistency, because your art can change, but who are you? And so I think the most important thing is like, don't think about a brand, because that's like a really buzzy word right now too. It's like, what is your brand? But I think it's like, who are you? Like, who are you? And because I and Rennie and Crystal, like when you're a dancer, you do like 30 other things. So like my friends, I'm like a slasher. I'm like dancer, choreographer, director, philanthropist, tech investor, writer, editor, translator. I also speak 3 languages. Like, so I think that, but what people know is that like, I'm going to be on time. Well, today was a little rough. Sorry, guys. I'm going to be on time. I'm going to be enthusiastic. I'm going to do the best that I can do at whatever the job is. So if it's sweeping hair on set, 'cause I'm a production assistant, that's going to be the cleanest floor you saw. And if it's hitting the tap step, it's going to be fierce. But I think what people know is like Maud is going to be Maud, and that stands the test of time to whatever atmosphere or art that I'm doing.
I agree to both. That was good. This is for Rennie. Is being paid in advance wrong? Because sometimes I would get emails from jobs and my mom and agency would say no, and I would be confused as to why. I would think that sometimes it's okay to be paid a little for some expenses, but is it really bad to be paid even a little bit in advance?
No, not. Here's the thing about this is, Crystal, and
I know.
So I don't care if it's $5. It is $5 more than I had. You will pay me in advance, because the advance payment is a testament of your commitment, and so and acknowledges me at a certain station in life. And so, however, I give certain people, like universities. That's hard for universities across the board. They can't pay in advance. It's an institution. It's not going nowhere. I know the office number of the person who hired me. So I'm cool with institutions on that level, but everyone else has to pay something. If it's 100, you know what I mean? If you're saying, oh, I want 10%, and then, well, we don't really, okay, well, can you give me 100? Can you give me $50? I found out that since I got, even all the way through when I was in the business, people no longer negotiate. Not for real. Like okay, they try to tell you this is what it is and this is what it is. You know what I mean? No, then the idea of negotiation is the thing that needs to happen, because it brings value to both people, and it's not just one way or the highway. And so to me, I think advanced payment, yeah, you have gas, you have to eat to get there. You have all kinds of things that you need that advancement for. If you have a company, you have to buy flights, and you have to buy them in a timely manner, because if they're holding up the money, you don't have the money to put up money to get the flights. You shouldn't have to go into your pocket. So advanced payment is important. And I think the problem here is Hollywood sets this precedent. You know what I mean? It's not in the rest of the world. You know what I mean? You can do it that way if you like. However, in the rest of the world, no. Part of my contract is I will receive X amount of dollars 3 months prior, or I do not get on the plane. I will not. I've waited at the airport, like on the phone, like, okay, I don't see it in my account, because it's your security blanket. And guess what? Advanced payments, not refundable.
Gotcha.
If they don't do it, that's on them. It acknowledges your time spent to actually negotiate, get paperwork, fill out paperwork, talk about content, what you're going to do, all those things. If you have an assistant, all that pays for that.
Yes. And I've heard, I'm stepping outside for a second. I've heard that with a lot of people who teach at studios, where, when people start canceling classes due to weather and they're not getting paid, and so on and so forth. And it's like they're losing out, but they're still the owner's still getting paid because they already got that monthly payment in. So it almost comes back the same way as that too.
Right, because some of it, believe it or not, some of it is shrewd business. Some of it is on purpose. You understand? What's the thing at Fire Island that, was it Ja Rule and all these people did, and they all got
the Fire Festival.
Yeah, they got fired. Yeah, they got built up. That's all on purpose. Sometimes you can actually make money based off of that kind of stuff, and people do it. Like today, the pandemic, there's a lot of people making a lot of money right now.
A lot.
You understand? That's, and I won't say it's on purpose, but I call it a plandemic. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, you know what I mean? But the same thing happened in 2008 when the bottom dropped out of real estate, right? A lot of people got paid. A lot of people got paid. It made the wealth gap go like this. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Okay, this one's for both of y'all. How did you keep up with dance trends and make them your own?
That's interesting. I don't know if I keep up. All this stuff, I don't know. I know that because
right.
My little brother was like, Ma, do this thing. I think that I don't try to keep up, if that makes any sense. I have no fear of not being cool, because I just think I'm cool. And I teach a lot of young people, and I have a lot of young people in my life, and I think that they keep me up to date. But I also don't feel like I'm in this rat race to stay cool. I think to feel young and blah, blah, blah. I just try to stay healthy and just try to work on myself. But I'm not at night trying to learn TikTok dances. I'm just keeping it 100. It doesn't make me happy. If that made me happy, I would do it, but I'm not inspired to do that.
I understand that. You think
I said, for me, I think it's a little different because I'm afraid of the choreography that I do. I'm afraid that it becomes stagnant. It becomes dated. And so often if I see one of the dancers, they be like, I'm like, oh shit, what's that? Oh, this is the Scooby-Doo dance, the whatever. I'm like, all right, let's add. And I'm like, hey, take out the Cabbage Patch and let's put this here. And yeah, take out the running man and let's go ahead and drop it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And so I think from a choreographic standpoint, if street dance is your thing in the theater, you want to somehow, the work has to breathe and stay relative. You know what I mean? To bring in other people as well. So I incorporated a little bit of that. Now, on my own time,
Hey.
you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Now on my own time, now I do this privately, you know, just to let you know, because I'm 6'2", I'm almost 6'3", I'm 200 and something, I'm a big dude. Some things big dudes should not do in public when they dance.
Like whipping nene?
Yes, yes.
I think you could, but I think you could.
Yeah, well, you know, I just feel, I know, okay, it looks better on a smaller dancer. One of my fears, I tell you, the biggest fear is when I was in high school, and I was 5'10" forever, and then right at the senior, I became 5'11", and I was like, oh shit, I'm getting taller. I'm never going to be able to dance again.
Oh.
I was so afraid that I couldn't dance because I was too tall. You know, so anyway, and when I was a commercial dancer and my partners are always short, I was so used to crouching down, just crouching down, like to try to match them, you know, because if the artist is short, and most of them are, you know what I mean? So anyway, I do think you have to, choreographically, it's cool to be relative a little bit, and you just use your dancers. I don't have to do it. I could just put the choreography in there, you know what I mean? And I may do it myself as this kind of, oh wow, look at the old dude in the back, you know.
Funny thing is, I don't think anybody would say like, look at the old dude, because what I also think, if I may add,
no, go ahead.
Like, I think people, because of the internet, perhaps, have separated this idea of like dance and life, and it's like I also think, well, pre-pandemic, like I go to parties, I go to the club, I dance, I listen to Migos. Like, it's so a part of my life of what is hip or popular or whatever, that I don't feel like I'm like keeping up with the trend, because I'm just living. And I think that too much we compartmentalize, like, I must whip and nay now. Oh, I don't, like, no, like, well, the first time I saw that, I was out somewhere in like Texas or something, and I saw I was like, what is that group? I've never, and to me, that is one of the most counterintuitive, difficult, like, I was like, hold on, I need to learn this because I can't do it easily. So I felt challenged. But again, I was just out social dancing. I think we forget that it's like social.
And that's how I ran into the was it Hit the Folk? Mm-hmm. I was like, yes. I was in Miami. I was like, what the hell is that? Oh, shit. Yo, show me that. You know, yeah. And I'm like, and you're right. Like, you know, I stopped going to clubs. So, however, I am a drinker. So that's probably why I'll drink. And then I'm like, cool, you know. So I'll go like to social events, and I may go time to time, that kind of thing. But, you know, I go to like a lot of hip hop events. I go to like that kind of stuff, you know, the students or whatever, they'll be doing some dance on the side, and I'm spying it like, what the hell is that? And where does that come? I like it because I write it down to know, you know, when we talk about hip hop culture, hip hop dance, right? Like, so for instance, I'm not a believer of what they call hip hop in the studio. That's jazz to me. In the 80s, they used to call that street funk or street jazz. Mm-hmm. There was nothing about, you know, I've never danced with a person and they were going like, so hip hop dance is a social party dance. You know, if I see Maud at the club and we're dancing, I'm like, I'm talking to her, yeah, mama, what's good? You know, and it's giving me a chance to socialize with her, you know, giving her a chance to flag me. You know what I mean? Like, boy, you tripping, and get out of here, move on over to something like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a whole social thing. And so what they call in hip hop today, I don't think it's hip hop. I think it's jazz without the ballet foundation. And what they're doing is utilizing the gestures of rappers. All the stuff with their hands like this, grabbing that crotch. Hip hop dancers don't do that. The reason why, because the swag is in the dance. The dance itself is already swag. You don't have to. Those are rappers. All this stuff, rappers do that. That's not, and so it's just sort of totally a whole different thing. So as Mark was saying, when you go to a club, a real club, you're gonna see these other dances. You're gonna pick up this dance. You can look. It could be some dude he just came in from Kentucky, and he got some dance that was from Kentucky all the way in the corner. And you see the way he's grooving. You pick it up, and everybody's doing it 2 weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's hip hop culture, because hip hop is coming from a social thing. Anyway, I think we have to be relevant, even though if you're in it, whether I'm in it or not in it, I'm still looking and spying, because my children, they're in it. So I'm like, oh, what's that? And what's the new slang? Or I don't even have to ask, because people will start talking to me. I'll be like, what the hell did you just say? You know, because Phil, Crystal, he's always like, yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm not gonna hold you, but did them early. Jip. Like, what did you just say out your mouth? You know what I mean? So I think if you're in the mix of it on whatever level, you're gonna be relative across the board.
I agree.
I think this one is for both of you. How do you think the dance world will positively and negatively change after the pandemic? What are you hopeful for and looking forward to the most?
Wow, that's a big question. I'll say the negative effects are happening now. Like, a lot of studios are closing, a lot of companies are becoming defunct because they're not able to find, to have money or work, and students like that. I think the positives are happening too. Like, dance has saved my life since I was a child, but I feel like it has saved me during the pandemic, not only from a work and financial standpoint, but from a joy standpoint and from a community standpoint. Like, earlier in the pandemic, we had a tap-a-thon on Instagram Live. It lasted 6 hours, and we raised $8,000 to give to families of tap dancers and professional tap dancers who had been affected by COVID. And we called in people from Israel, Nigeria, Dubai, Brazil, Costa Rica. And it was so beautiful to see this global dance family, to remind people that they weren't alone and isolated. I think what I'm looking forward most to, so Syncopated Ladies had a 30-city tour with Columbia artists touring, and that got canceled. Like, we're technically supposed to be on tour right now. And we were really excited about it because it was the first of its kind, first ever happened. And obviously it's canceled for now. So we're excited to go back to dancing and to doing all the other stuff. Like, thank God for Zoom, because it sustained a lot of people financially during this time. I think moving forward, the good and the bad of Zoom is that people are going to be like, well, I don't need to leave my house now because I have Zoom. But then the good of it is, like, Rennie could be teaching somebody in Nigeria who wouldn't be able to fly to Philly to take his class. So I think that it's all about how we as individuals, as dancers, as creators, teachers, artists, how are we magnifying the positive, and how are we pivoting to make it a positive experience, because the whole world is seeing positive and negative effects.
Beautiful. Did you want to add anything, Rennie?
Yeah, I'm all of that.
Here's one. This is for Maud. What is a tech investor?
Oh.
When you were doing the slashes of things you do, your last things was tech investor, or at least I think that's what you said.
It is. I speak very fast sometimes. Sorry, guys. So a tech investor basically is somebody who invests. That means you give your money with the hope that you are going to make more money back. So you can invest in all types of different things. You could invest in the stock market. You could invest in your friend's new clothing line, meaning you give your friend $300 and say, when you make it back, I want $400 after you make up the money. All these terms. So a tech investor means that there are two tech companies, technical companies, so that a tech company can be like Instagram, Zoom. And so there are two new tech companies. One is a social media company and one is an app. And me and Chloe both invested in it. So the way we invested was in the round one of investments, meaning this is when they're getting their money before they go public. So just to give you perspective, let's say you invested in Instagram before Facebook bought it. and let's say you gave Instagram maybe $5,000. These numbers could be off, guys, so don't judge me because I'm just making it up in my head. And then Instagram sells to Facebook for $1 billion. Depending on how much that 5,000, that could be 5,000 times 10, it could be times 20, meaning when that sale happens, you're getting a return. So you're not getting $5,000 back, you're getting probably at least $50,000 back from what the company was valued at when you invested the money. I hope that was a good explanation. It's kind of complicated, but this is a new venture, and yeah.
How long have you been doing this?
Since the pandemic.
Oh, wow. Are you serious?
Yeah. Like Rennie, and again, I don't say this at all in I'm chilling way, because I obviously know a lot of people who have been affected and have helped people both financially and emotionally who have been affected by the pandemic. But we were able to pivot what at first seemed very dark and bad, and we thought we were going to go into financial ruin, into something where we've been able to thrive, and we're very, very thankful, and we're trying new things. I actually wrote a children's book too, Rennie. Basically, we need to be friends. And I think it's important to say, because I think that people feel bad if they're doing well during this time. But I would just like to say this is a crazy time in the world. But also during normal times, there are always the haves and the have-nots. So if you are able to thrive and help other people and be kind and be grateful, there's no shame in doing well. And I think for artists, it's a hard thing, because struggling artists. I hate that. Throw it away. I believe in thriving artists. Why? We run the world. We make the world better. We should be balling. Why not? So that's my stance.
Yeah.
I love that. We should be balling. Question. Oh, this is a good one. How has your dancing changed as your body has aged and you become more seasoned?
And I think that's from Tina Marie.
Yes, it is, Tina.
What's that?
Why you gotta call her out?
Huh?
Oh,
because she signed her name, Tina Marie.
I love it.
Because she's dope, by the way. So I think I don't feel like my dancing has changed. I just think my body's changed. I can still do 95% of everything I did when I was younger.
Wow.
The only thing I can't do right now is windmills.
You can drop down to your knees and everything?
Yeah. Hold up.
That's good.
But
whatever, don't talk about my knees.
Yo, I got biscuits. I have biscuits. I got those dinner rolls that you buy at the grocery store with the splits in the middle of them. Those are my knees. But yeah, seriously though, I can still pretty much do everything. The difference is when my wind has changed, my energy around it. Yeah, it's just I think when I had the hip problems, I was thinking old. I was thinking in the old because my body felt old, right? Now that I got that taken care of, my body doesn't feel old. Mm-hmm. I still feel, I've been dancing. I'm 125 days in dancing 2 hours a day every day for 125 days. I'm low key. I'm hoping to do 1 year of just dance for 2 hours a day.
That's amazing.
However, yeah, I'm surprising myself. Because of my hips, I was immobile. I gained a lot of weight. In December, I was 302 pounds. Now I'm 285. Still dropping. Just from dancing. I've taken some Pilates classes, some to stretch and all that, and get out learn how to use my muscles correctly and all that. However, I think it's a mental thing. And as long as your body can hold up physically, meaning barring no ailment, you should be able to still continue to do what it is you do, because the body remembers. And this is the thing I learned. I've been in physical therapy for 4 years. This is the thing I learned because I did it pre-op and then after. This is the thing I learned with physical therapy. It was that the body's just going to remember it. The muscle is going to remember it. So as soon as you stop doing it, it won't remember. You know what I mean? If it's not, basically you have to do everything you did before. As long as you continue to do it, your body will always remember it. The muscle will always remember it. So as soon as you figure, you guys know this, as soon as you, let's say you no longer sit in lotus position, and you could do that for hours as a child watching cartoons, right? Now you can't get into the lotus because you stopped doing it. And so so now I understand that viscerally now versus just cerebrally, right? I understand it viscerally. So now it's about regaining, retraining my body. I've been retraining my body to engage the floor different. Right now, I have, my goal is to get to I'll be going back to breaking by December. I'm gonna get like, I ain't gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna break, because I used to break, but I'm over 50. Like, so I'm like, I'm not gonna be like, yeah, let's get it in. It's an exercise, because if you get on the floor, here's the other thing I already knew this, but this kind of came home, was if you do floor movement, you're basically holding your body up, your body weight the whole time. So you are doing a full body conditioning the whole time, especially if you're a breaker. That's why breakers are lean and mean.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. Do you have anything, Ma, that you want to share?
I feel very young, and I can do anything. You know what I don't do though? I'm not even gonna lie. Like, there are these, like, you know, these like new complicated tap steps. You like wing on your toe and do all this stuff. I'd be like, yo, you should do that. I cannot risk injury at this moment. And it's funny because I'm so thankful. My whole career, knock on wood, I've had one injury. And it was last December 2018, and it was from on our tap floors. When we step off stage, we're like on our tap floors, and then there's the stage we step down, and there was an unsecured wire backstage, and I sprained my ankle horribly stepping off because the wire was not marked properly, and that is how I injured myself. Yeah,
that means you must be paid.
No, because they technically, like, it was some. I'm not paid. Let me tell you, I wish, but I am not. But yeah, I just don't do like crazy things, but I also don't want to. Like, I'm like, I want you to do that. Like, I'm sure, like, I'm not calling myself Michael Jordan, but I'm sure Michael Jordan is like looking at the young dudes like, yeah, you do that turn back, dunk, backflip. He's like, I don't want to do that no more.
Right, exactly. But that's how I do when I'm choreographing. That's what I think about when I'm doing choreography. Okay, now, Phil, I need you to do a flip over his head, and then flip over his head,
right.
And then, and that's the best part about getting older. You can get other people to do it.
Exactly. And it's so great to see them. It's great to see them do that. Like, I'm like, yes, it's amazing.
But also too, your dance becomes the shit. Yeah. Like, meaning when you give up dynamics, because dynamics is really just acrobatics and flips and things, which is, to me, not dance. It's just flips and acrobatics, right? And tricks. Your internal stuff, like, how to gig for real, that rhythm, that it would kill a young cat any day. Any day. I've seen it 100 times. The older cats go at the younger cats, and the younger cats is flipping and doing all kinds of trickety tricks. And that the dancer comes out, slow walks them. This is what we call a slow walk. You just, and then start going. And you feel it, you be like, oh, yeah. So I think that as you get older, you get better. You can retain the dance itself. And it's not so much about the tricks, but it's just about, as Marv was saying, it's just about, can you get down? Can you, let's go.
Your soul, yeah.
Since we're speaking about this, and this is something that I've heard my students talk to me about, and just conversations in hallways, is freestyling is something, especially when it comes to hip hop or tap, they find it as a struggle versus if it's contemporary or jazz or any other dance forms. So is there anything that you can share with the students when it comes to freestyling movement, or anything they can practice or work on, or just anything to guide them? Either one, Maud or Rennie. Uh-oh, it's a battle.
It's a battle. It's battle zone. By the way, I've definitely been in a hip hop battle before, and I did not tap. Nice. Nina Flag actually judged me.
Oh, wow.
Nina was like, I actually wanted you to win mine because you're the only woman, the only girl. I was a teenager at the time. She's like, you're the only girl that didn't just like booty pop. I was grooving and dance halling like my life depended on it. And Mr. Wiggles was one of the judges.
I love
Oh,
it.
wow.
I
Nice.
love it.
Nice. Yeah, I think the thing about freestyling, I think people, my students, they have this problem too, because again, when you're in a sort of like Western setting, you begin to analyze. And then one of the other hip hop professors here, he always says, Larry Southall, he always says, paralysis by analysis, right? And so you always, as soon as you start analyzing, what am I going to do to freestyle, you didn't shut yourself down already. And so it is no different than if any of you have taken a maybe contact improv, modern-esque contemporary dance, or just improv, and it's no different than that. You go with the flow wherever the movement takes you. And if you're able to just feel the music and think about the music and make it internal, what happens external is a whole other thing, right? Because you're thinking from this perspective of external, what do I look like, right? And so now you're stressing. But really the best way to do is put the music on that you love, whatever it is, and just go for broke. Don't think about anything. Practice that, just dancing and continuing to move. Another technique I use is I do things slow, right? So think about if you are at the bar and you're in ballet, right? And you have to go to the bar, everything's, slow. And so, if I'm blocking, I'll the music may be going at tempo, but I might start going. And I just try to keep moving slow, right? Because slow I can do improvisationally, right? And I never just, and then I'll try to roll it fast. You know what I mean? And so there's certain things you can do to help yourself not think, but just move and engage the music. The other way you could do is get a few of your friends, maybe at least 4 to 5, and you cipher. Right? And a lot of people think, and this is with the Western world, think that we're competing when we get into a cipher. We call it battle, but it's about building. So if I was a tapper and Ma did a rhythm, I would basically do her rhythm and then show her how to then do a rhythm that would take that rhythm to another level, in my opinion. I'd be like, oh, really? You did that? You did the shim, shim? What? Let me show you the shim, North Philly style. You know what I mean? And then Ma would be like, oh, what? You're going to take that and then show? And we just build on each other. And that building is the thing that pushes us to the next level as dancers. So when you cipher, and this is this is another discussion, because when the term cipher is coming out of the 5% of Muslim language, right? To build, right? Knowledge. And so the cipher is 360 degrees, right, of knowledge. So when you cipher, you are not only building of knowledge, you're building of skill set, you're communing to a higher self, right? You're going beyond your body. I often like to say, when I dance, it's the only time that I would like to die, right? I want to die dancing. I feel sorry for the people who are around me. Put them in, they're gonna be in shock. But I like to be like on stage or in the club, like right, and just go, and I will be happy. Everybody knows this is what will happen. The point is, you go beyond yourself, right? You all have done it at a point where you've danced without any drugs, alcohol, or anything all night. That's because the spirit took over. And when you can connect to spirit, then you're dancing sincerely from your heart. And that's the freestyle. It's not what you see on everybody battling in a comp. That's capitalism. That's complete capitalism. Black, white, straight, queer, gay, however you identify yourself, that is complete consumption about consumption. I mean, there's a longer explanation about that, but I'm just being quick about it. But go ahead. Sorry.
That was an amazing, I have nothing to add. That was amazing, because that goes for every art form.
Right.
I hear you. All right, question is, what is the biggest piece of advice you have for young dancers entering the professional dance world right now?
I would say, first thing to do is, what kind of professional dancer do you want to be? I mean, do you want to go on Broadway? Do you want to go to film, television? Do you want to tour? Do you want to be in Rennie's company? Like, what kind of things do you think you want to do? And then, so that depends on your location. But I would say the most important thing is train, train, train. Like, even when you're in school for a certain thing like dance, like I was in school for film, when I graduated from college, you know how many sets I worked on? Also, by the way, for free or for literally $25 for working on a rap video for 25 hours. You have to gain that experience, that real life experience, that real life training. So if you went to college in LA, but you're like, actually, I want to be on Broadway, you need to go and train in New York, because it's a different energy and all that. And also have all your stuff together. Like, one of my biggest pet peeves, because my sister and I cast a lot of stuff too, is and sometimes now people just want to like see somebody's Instagram, and I'm like, oh, I know blah blah blah, and she's a great hip hop dancer, or whatever, and then I go to her Instagram page and all it is selfies. I'm like, girl, I can't do this. Like, if this is what you do, put it on your Instagram. And I think that that's a great tool to utilize for young people, for all people, really. It's like their Instagram, or build a website and, get your pictures done, and just be ready so you don't, stay ready so you don't got to get ready. And even though in the pandemic right now, things seem at a standstill, but let me tell you, if you read Deadline or The Hollywood Reporter, movies and television shows are being sold every day, and people are still prepping their Broadway shows. So don't sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say put your head down and just keep moving straight. Don't look left, don't look right. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people, like, sometimes you want to make it so bad you actually stop yourself. You know what I mean? Because you're trying to do everything and anything, right? Like, whatever your lane is, get in it and keep going. I never looked to my left or my right. I just kept going. You know what I mean? Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. It has nothing to do with you, right? If that person got all this money, or that person got that gig, guess what? That person was in the right place at the right time, and they got it because they got it. It got nothing to do with you. If you're hating on that person, just remember, as long as you're hating on someone, you're not going anywhere either. What you need to do, what I had to learn to do was, oh man, I'm glad they got that, man. I'm proud of you, boom, boom, boom. Even if I didn't mean it, I said it so it could become a part of me for real and become sincere. You understand? So I could practice on being really loving in that way. So when you love from that spiritual place, you're going to get what it is. And I'm not talking religion. I'm just saying, as a human, when you are loving and giving out as much as you can, you're going to get what it is you deserve. It's as simple as that. It's just like you put it into the universe, it's going to come back. You understand? So I would say, stay in your lane, and just keep working, and work without expectation. I had no clue what I was doing. I had no clue I was doing all of these things, and I had no clue I was on this trajectory. One day I looked up and got an award for something and was like, oh snap, I didn't even realize anybody was watching me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Right. So you have to find your humility and find your humbleness, not the fake part. Just find it. It's there. So I think it starts from the core of you and who you are, how you make it. You know what I mean? And so I think if you can get that together, then you move into that space what Maud was talking about, like have your stuff together. I had a rule. The rule was to call back. I had to call somebody back in 3 days, right? Meaning the other part I skipped, you have to get over yourself. You're not that dope. Everybody is dope. Everybody is amazing. You are jumping in the ocean. And so you have to figure out how. I got my gigs because I was extremely professional. I never talked on the set. I stood ready until someone told me to do something. I didn't think I made it once I got a big gig. I stayed professional the whole time. And people remember that, hey, what's that kid, Rennie, that guy? Call him up. Yeah, I like the way he acts. All of that has to do with it. And I didn't think I was the best dancer, but because I was extremely professional, that's why I say, that's not an insult to say you're not dope. It's just to say everybody's dope. Well, my students from here, wherever I teach, I said, listen, so you want to be a house dancer? Okay, go to New York, go to this club, go to this place called, go to this, these cats called Sound Factory. I said, when you go there, after you go, call me. They called me and I said, well, what happened? Oh, it was nice. It was great. I said, was everybody dancing? Yeah. I said, were they beasts? They were killing it, right? He said, yeah. I said, like old cats with bald heads and fat bellies, right? Yeah. Everybody in there was dope, right? Yeah. I said, did you dance? No. I said, exactly. Yeah, cause you, right. You were just a little Nemo jumping in that pool. You know? and you know what I mean? So no, what I'm saying to you is, if you're talented, that's great. But half the time it's not about the talent. It's not about, and acting is about, you know what I mean? Sometimes you just got the look that they want. And they'll bet on the acting. They'll be like, oh, we can get you a coach and we'll push you. Yeah. Same thing with dancing. Sometimes it's just the look. It's not even about your skill set. So you just get your business. I like to say it's called business and then show, not show business. Do your business and then show what you know. You know what I mean? Get that together, have all that tight, but also remain humble. If you don't get it, it does break your heart. I remember the first time I went for like a go-see, some, I was calling myself being an actor or whatever, I'm going, and they just went right over. They were like, you skipped me, and was like, you. And I looked at them like, you didn't take me? Oh my God. Like I was broken. And sometimes you have to go through that, you know what I mean? However, once you understand it's not personal, it's this, is that, you're talented. It has nothing to do with your talent level. You know what I mean? Like your business it's just, once you understand the business, then you'll have a better time with it. So know your business first, know what you need to do, have all your stuff together, and then hope for the best, man.
Before we close out, I do want to ask, is there anything that dancers can do to be a part of your work? Like, is there auditions or is it by word of mouth? How does it work for either of you?
Well, for Syncopated Ladies and Chloe and Maud Foundation and Chloe and Maud Productions, we're going, rolling, everything. So, I mean, obviously right now things are slightly different because of the pandemic, but I would say the best way to stay in touch with us is social media, but then also like if you love tap, enroll in one of our programs because our programs are very hands-on. And I know, I'm pretty sure 2 of my students from past programs, because they go to Point Park, are watching, and they know that Chloe and I like really remember people, we love people. But I think for anybody you want to work with, you have to show up and invest in like what it is. Like you can't want to like be like, hi, Rennie Harris, I want to be in your company. And you've never been to one of his shows. You've never taken a class. You've never seen, like, it's like this idea. So I would say, stay in touch with us. We currently don't have any like auditions for anything right now because pandemic, but once pandemic is over, I know that we're going to be like hella booked. And so we're going to need, you see how I manifested that? We're gonna need extra Syncopated Ladies to do things because there have been several instances where we have pulled students who are now like in over 18 to be like, can you learn the Syncopated Ladies choreography? Can you hit it like us? And can you do this show? Because that's how one girl became a Syncopated Lady. I booked a job with Beyonce and I was like, deuces. And we had a show and she filled in for me. And then she did so well that then she became a part of the group.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I've only had 2 auditions in 30 years. So it's really, a lot of time is one dancer brings in another person, and really I'm about commitment. I'm not about the money. Like if you dance for me, don't expect like you here and when do you get paid and when you go on tour. That doesn't happen with me. You get in the back and you'll stay there for a couple of years. And if you can hang, or if you really got that skill set and you can pick up, and my thing is, if you learn all the choreography and there's a spot open, you got it. Generally, most people don't do that. They don't have time to do it. They're not committed in that way because they have other commitments. And so I just really want the people who really want it. I had a young kid. He took my class at Earl Mosley's. His name is Kai Supreme. He's a bone breaker. Look him up. He has a big following. He's like, Rennie Harris, I'm gonna be in your company. I said, okay. Mm-hmm. Now, and so I get a call 4 or 5 months later. I'm here. I'm like, you're weird. Who is this? This is Kai. I said, what do you mean you're here? I'm in Philadelphia. I moved. I'm like, oh, okay. What time is rehearsal?
Oh,
I was like, I'm like it's 9:30. Everybody got to be at 9:30. Yeah, come through, blah, blah, blah. Next morning, he calls me, 8:30 in the morning. I'm here. You're where? I'm at the studio. Hey, the studio don't open up until 9. I told you 9:30. That's all right. I got here early.
I love it.
Guess what? This man has already toured on 3 productions, performed as a lead dancer for Terrence Blanchard, the
amazing
trumpetist, right? Yeah, the trumpeter, right? Like he's already, there's a lot of things he couldn't do. He's learning house, he's learning hip hop, he's learning floor movement because he was just a bone breaker. He had an issue with time. He couldn't keep the time on he worked hard. And so I'm partial to people who are committed, and then the money will come. And Crystal know, and I'll tell everybody this right now, that I tell my dancers, you're not going to get rich in my company. However, you will make money because of my company.
That is true.
When you leave my company, you will have so much information and knowledge that you will be able to speak and get paid for an hour, $3,500 an hour to speak, or $2,500 or whatever, you know what I mean? You will have some knowledge that you can make from my company because you were a part of it. And so that's the thing that I offer people. So if you're interested, come to Philadelphia.
Real quick, I have probably like a minute left. And I know you want to talk about Roman and Jules real quick.
Oh, right. All right, so here's y'all's chance. All right, so like Maud said, the pandemic hit. We're gonna be hit the ground running. I made 2 new works in the pandemic. I'm gonna have rehearsals we're gonna be going in and out for 3 years straight. One of those works is called Romeo and Juliet. Is a work that I won a lot of awards for. It's my first evening length work that I did in 1996, originally created in 97, and it premiered in 2000. It's a Romeo and Juliet. It's a hip hop version of Romeo and Juliet. Of course, it's twisted. So it's basically one of the classic American work now. Is made that status. I'm remounting it for our 30th anniversary, which is 2022. So, however, we need funding to be able to remount it for rehearsals and production and all that kind of stuff. That stuff is separate. I'm Rennie Harris, meaning my name was Rennie Harris before there was a pure movement, which means my money is my money, the company is the company's money, and it has to operate that way, or I will be a poor person, right? If I pay. However, so what it is, we're asking everyone to help support. If you're a dancer, give $10. If you got $1, I told you, I'm a person. If I find a nickel on the ground, I came up. You know what I mean? You got
I'm going to donate right now, Rennie.
I just sent you guys the link. Please go there. I appreciate you, Maud. Yeah. So really help see this work is massive. And we will be coming to your town. We have like 5 to 7 presenters already on board to present it. So you will be able to get to see it and be a part of that. And, I'm ready to hit the ground 2022. I feel like we're in the stalls, like the horses, and that bell's going, we're all gonna be like, pew! Right, because everybody's waiting, the artists are waiting. And so anyway, until that happens, we're building up, trying to build capital for rehearsal and to fly people in because they're from all over. Now they've moved to different places and we have to figure it out. So if you want to be part of the company and help out, you know what I mean? Do it. Also, if you want to be part of the company, just let me know. My email is rennieharris@gmail.com. I'm putting it in right now.
And Maud, somebody asked about your book.
My children's book?
Your children's book.
Coming soon.
There you go.
Yes.
I mean, I just wrote it. It's being illustrated. I'm very excited about it. It's, I'll give you like a little, not synopsis, just the premise is that Chloe and I are superheroes, and our superpower is tap dance, and we save kids' dreams with our superpowers by enabling them with self-esteem and practical tools to make their dreams come true.
It's
Nice.
beautiful. Beautiful. Well, it has been. Go ahead.
Hold on. Sorry, Crystal. Sorry. I hate to interrupt. I just want to say, everybody, what Rennie just said about like fundraising and everything. And he said, like, give $1 if you can, give $5. It really makes a difference. And we have to support each other as a community. And obviously, if it's the pandemic and you can't, but you're in Philly and you could volunteer, but also think about the amount of money we all waste on stupid things like, I don't know, nobody's going out to a bar anymore and getting drinks, but like eating out or doing things like $5, $10 can go a really long way. So I would just encourage everybody. I just donated, and I'm saying that to say, like, we have to, as a community, be together and support each other. So give what you can. And I'll be sharing this on my social media too, because even if you don't have any money, if you share it on your social, somebody else might see it who can donate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maud. And thank you to everyone who viewed today. I hope you enjoy and walk away with something. And don't forget to tune in next Monday for a new conversation at 4:30 p.m. Thank
Crystal,
you,
the hostess with the mostest.
Thanks, Crystal. So good to see you.
Thank
You look great.
You look
great.
so much. Oh my God, so
Everybody's
great.
skin is glowing. Everybody look good. Okay.
I'm working with my ring light.
Girl, me too. The ring light has saved me.
I don't have a ring light.
Rennie,
Rennie,
I get you one, Rennie.
Yeah, for my skin.
your skin looks fantastic.
You know what I'm doing? I'm doing the scrubs, like the salt scrubs with the oil. I'm making it myself.
Oh, that's good. You know what I've been doing? I've been in CBD oil.
Oh, I think
Yeah, and it's funny because I actually have struggled with acne my whole life, and CBD oil has helped me.
I think I need that. Anything?
I'll send it to you, and it's a Black-owned company.
Oh, is it really? Okay, you got my email, right, Mama?
Right,
Yep.
right.
I'm gonna email you right now.
RennieHarris@gmail.
I'm gonna email it to you right now.
Okay, cool.
Thank you so much, Crystal. Thank you.
Oh
Rennie.
my God, I think it's so good to see you, Maud.
You too. It's been too long.
Way too long. We need a reunion. Let's make it happen, Rennie.
I might come to Philly. I'll let you guys know if I come.
Yes, let me know. I'm in Pittsburgh, but it's not that far.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
All right, I guess
I'm
we can
generally,
hang out
I'll be
then.
back. Normally I'm away, so I'll be back in the summer. So if you get there in the summer, let me know.
Amazing. I will definitely let you know. Hi, Garfield. I didn't know Garfield was here. Hey.
Oh, where is he? Did he just say hi to you?
No, I see him in the attendees. I just looked at the list.
You're so great. I love it. I think that's it, you guys. We're all done.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Enjoy your evening, afternoon, whatever it is there.
Thank you. You guys too. Everybody be safe and stay up.
Yes.
And don't forget to sip your air very slowly.
Right?
All right. See y'all.
All right, have a great
Bye.